and the PowerPoint, so it's going to be a wonderful presentation. So hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Judy Browse, and I'm the Executive Director of the North American Association for Environmental Education. And really, really happy that you could all join us today. I think it's going to be a really wonderful discussion. We're all really excited. Hope you have your writing notebooks ready. And for any of you who are celebrating Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah. It starts tonight, I hear, at sundown. So I hope it's the start of a wonderful week of celebration. And today, as you know, as all of you who are joining, it's all about the stories we tell and reflective writing to examine how nature, diversity, and place influence our teaching. So it's all going to be about storytelling and thinking about all of these connections. And we are so excited to have a wonderful presenter today, Namal De Silva, and I will introduce her more formally in a minute. But first, just a couple of intro comments. We are going to be looking at the connections between storytelling, equity and inclusion, and nature and environmental education. So always feel free to write your questions or thinking or ideas in the chat, and we'll talk more about that. Next week, we have another webinar, and it's at 4 o'clock. So I just wanted to emphasize that with Andy Goodman. Many of you took part in his survey where he was collecting what do we know about what works on how we work together online. So I know a lot of you are interested in doing so much more online work. And as many of you know, these webinars that we have been holding all year, I think we've held more than 25 this year, is bringing new ideas and insights to the field during COVID, but also beyond COVID, new ideas, new speakers, new presenters, new ways to think about things. And we're always anxious to hear any ideas that you have. And we also are so excited that we have our partnership with the Forest Service, who has been wonderful and does so much on conservation education. And this is one of our EE Inspire webinars, which is all about professional development for the whole field of environmental ed, whether you work in informal or non-formal, or you work for a government agency, a foundation, a nonprofit. These webinars are for all of you. And I'm going to turn it over to our partner in crime, the new environmental ed specialist at the Forest Service, Rachel, to just say a few words of welcome. So Rachel, take it away.
Hello. Yes, thank you so much, Judy and NAAA for having me. As Judy said, my name is Rachel Bear. I'm pretty new still to the Forest Service. I think I'm about 7 or 8 weeks in now. I'm the new environmental education specialist. I'm working at the Washington office for the Forest Service. So excited to see all of our great folks here, whether you're with the Forest Service, a partner of the Forest Service, potential future partner of the Forest Service, doing great work in the field of EE. We're just so excited to be here and to be part of this series with NAAA. So you're not here to listen to me, you're here to listen to the experts. So that's all the more I wanted to say, but thank you all for joining us. And I'm excited to learn about this topic as well.
Rachel, thank you so much, and congratulations again. So happy you're in this position. And a big thank you to all our affiliate co-hosts across the country. We have 56 state, regional, and provincial affiliates who are doing such good work at all different levels and also helping to promote these webinars. So thank you all. And if you don't know who your affiliate is, please check them out or write to us. I know you've probably been on 8 million Zoom calls. Maybe it's up to 15 million Zoom calls by now, but just make sure that you connect with us via the chat, and you can either send a note to all the panelists, and that's everybody you're looking at right now, or to everyone. So if you have ideas and you have questions, send them to everyone so that we can all see what you're thinking. And you can type your questions in or resources as Namal is talking and we're doing homework. You're going to be doing a lot in the chat, but it'll be great to have your ideas and resources as well. Thanks to Jamie for doing live captioning so that anybody that has issues with hearing or needs help, that'll be coming your way as well. You can look at the captioning, but also in the recording. And a huge thank you to Anne, who helps run this webinar series. She is fantastic. Such great, great, great support. and message Anne if you're having any issues or you need any help. And Anne is our Director of Professional Development and the manager of EE360, our partnership with EPA. And also wanted to just mention that a number of the books that Namal is going to be talking about are still on our Acorn site from the conference. They've all been really wonderful resources and many of you have them. And I just wanted to highlight that Amy Nizuka-Mutatil's book, World of Wonders, has won so many awards. She spoke at the conference. Since then, it's Barnes & Noble's Book of the Year, and it's NPR is one of their books. So it's a great resource, and Namal will talk more about that. And now it gives me really great pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Namal De Silva. And for those of you who don't know her, she is just a force for nature and for storytelling. She's worked for the environment for more than 2 decades, and she works in the area of inclusion, conservation, education, and how we can solve problems related to vision, strategy, priorities, and changes in direction. She's the founder of a group called MELA, which supports the people who are working to protect nature. Through consulting, through workshops, mentoring, storytelling, she leads efforts to support the connection between people, perspectives, and places. Her focal areas include promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion within the environmental field, and helping people to integrate stories into their work. And she has worked with a number of groups, from the American Bird Conservancy to the firm Bernuth and Williamson, and helps nonprofits and foundations with management, growth, funding, and impact. And she recently created and currently teaches a new capstone seminar for the sustainability minor at George Washington University. She also serves as co-chair of the founding governance board of the Solutions Journal, and she served for 2 years as the co-president of the DC Environmental Education Consortium. For nearly a decade, she worked for Conservation International to protect threatened species and wild places all around the world. So it's a great honor to introduce Namal and have her take it away. And just one last thing, you'll see that she's really a smarty pants here. She has a doctorate in education at GW University, a master's degree in environmental management from the Yale University School of Forestry, and a bachelor's degree in biology and environmental studies from Swarthmore College. And she was born in Sri Lanka, and she moved to DC when she was 6 years old. So Namal, please take it away, and I will stop sharing and you can start. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Judy. And thank you to Rachel and to Anne for this opportunity to really connect the threads between a lot of what I am so passionate about. Welcome to all of you. It's just a real pleasure to have so many of you joining us today. I'm gonna start sharing this. Can you all see that? No, I can't see you. Yes, okay. So we will use the chat. I'm going to talk for a while and I'm going to read some passages from the books that Judy mentioned, as well as one other. This one, it's called The Stories Lives Tell, and the title of this webinar is based on that. It's called Narrative and Dialogue in Education, and it's an older book. It's edited by Carol Witherell and Nell Noddings. And I'll read a couple of quotes from that as well. I would love comments, reflections, questions in the chat, and we'll pause at several points during the talk to discuss a little bit more. I will read quite a bit, so apologies for that. You'll see me looking this way. But to get us started and to get us thinking together just a little bit, can you type in the chat the very first word that comes to mind when I say the word nature? And I'll just pause to see some of what you're writing. I'm seeing trees, life, joy, forest, peace, green, home, fun, love. My grandmother, I'm going to talk about mine too. Beauty, peace, again, wonder, grounding, critters, beautiful. A lot of home, a lot of green, a lot of love, serenity. It's beautiful. Thank you. So nature. For me, this is what I started writing yesterday, and a lot of what you said is reflected here as well. When I wrote one word, I couldn't help but write down a whole lot of other words based on what I'd been thinking about recently. So some of the things I had written were peace, freedom, vanishing, biodiversity, sorrow, beauty, nearby, weeds, houseplants, wonder, ocean, reef, forest, fear, danger, me, us, disconnection, connection to, immersion, access, refuge, and resilient. Nature is so much. Nature is us. And nature interwoven with storytelling. Actually, I'm going to step back a bit. Nature interwoven with storytelling can teach us so much about ourselves and each other. And to get us started, and to get myself started in thinking about this topic, I wrote a little bit and I was surprised at what came out. It wasn't so much directly about nature, but about thinking about myself and how I valued always being slow and being quiet. This is what I wrote yesterday. As a child, I was slow and quiet. A series of physical education teachers encouraged, cajoled, yelled. They all wanted me to be faster. My third grade teacher threatened to turn me upside down if I did not speak more in class. I didn't, and she did. I was mortified as I tugged on my sweater and watched the black asphalt turn from ground to sky. It was my fifth school in 4 years and only the third in the United States. I did not speak up more in class. I watched and I listened just as I had before. These days, I am less quiet, but still slow. For me, hiking is less about the view from the top of a mountain than about the moments spent lost in the wonder of drops of dew on moss. Being slow and quiet in nature brings me peace, joy, and renewal. Writing does something similar. The quiet and focus of writing brings me joy. I write for myself. Writing helps me make sense of the world and of the myriad past selves that collectively answer the question of who I am today. What I wrote was influenced a lot by the book by Noddings and Witherell. They write about the value of narrative for education specifically. I came across it when I was doing my doctorate at a time when I found my voice and found my work. And this is something that they wrote. The stories we hear and the stories we tell shape the meaning and texture of our lives at every stage and juncture. Stories and narrative, whether personal or fictional, provide meaning and belonging in our lives. They attach us to others and to our own histories by providing a tapestry rich with the threads of time, place, character, and even advice on what we might do with our lives. And that's on the very first page of their book. So during the long years when I was completing my doctorate, it was a mid-career thing that I did, shifting from conservation biology to environmental education. And I did that to try to make sense of the world, to try to make sense of how we engage with the environment. So during those years, I focused on environmental education and I wrote a lot. I wrote in the margins. I wrote in the margins of my books. I wrote alongside my research. I wrote what I thought would be a blog post about my discomfort with calling myself a scientist. I had worked at that point in conservation biology for about a decade, but I never felt that comfortable with the term scientist. It never quite fit me. And so I wrote this passage about my various identities and basically claiming that label of scientist for myself. I never published it or put it out into the world anywhere, but it was really important for me in thinking about my multiple identities. And in his book, Drew, called The Home Place, Drew Lanham does something like that. Thinking about who you are, thinking about who you are in terms of the multiplicity of your identities. He does that. This is me. when I was, I don't know, maybe 4 in Sri Lanka, and that's my grandfather in the distance. I love this picture of myself because to me, this is me. I have a book in my lap. I'm sitting, I'm not moving, and I'm surrounded by nature, flowers, gardens. And I'm near my family, I'm near my grandparents. This is what Drew wrote. I am an ornithologist, wildlife ecologist, and college professor. I am a father, husband, son, and brother. I hope to some I am a friend. I bird, I hunt, I gather. I am a seeker and a noticer. I am a lover. My being finds its foundation in open spaces. I am a man of color, African American by politically correct convention, mostly Black by virtue of ancestors who trod ground in Central and West Africa, being brought to foreign shores. In me, there's additionally an inkling of Irish, a bit of Brit, a smidgen of Scandinavian, and some American Indian, Asian, and Neanderthal tossed in too. But that's only part of the whole. There's also the red of miry clay plowed up and planted to pass a red legacy forward. There's the brown of spring floods rising over a Savannah River shoal. There's the gold of ripening tobacco drying in the heat of summer's last breath. There are endless rows of cotton's cloudy white. My plumage is a kaleidoscopic rainbow of an eternal hope and the deepest blue of despair and darkness. All of these hues are in me. I am, in the deepest sense, colored. And that's at the beginning of his book. During this webinar, we'll use a few more of these quotes as inspiration, but what I'm really looking for is the connection between these stories and your own stories. So to think about your own memories and your own identities in connection to nature, in connection to diversity, and in connection to your work as environmental educators, as conservationists, as professionals in various fields. So these titles, the books that Judy mentioned, the books by Drew Lanham, Amy Nezhukumtel, and Audrey Peterson, and they've brought me such joy, and I wanted to share some ideas from those books with you. I put these particular stories together because of a conference talk at the NAAEE Summit Conference this fall, where the 3 of them spoke together. And as they spoke, I felt so inspired. I saw bits of my own experiences reflected in theirs, and I just basked in the warm informality of their connection with each other. It was a beautiful talk, and one that I recommend that you check out. I think it is online now. So reflective writing, it helps us to recognize, celebrate, and critically evaluate connections between our past selves, between our relationships with other people, with our students, with our colleagues, and with nature. And I hope that we're able to do that through exploring these books a little bit. I'll start with Audrey, and I butchered Amy's last name. It's Nezhukumtel. I'll start with Audrey, who talks about her earliest memory. My earliest memory is of following my grandmother, who I called Mama, down to the gully that ran behind our house to cut cocoa heart leaves for pepper pot soup. Mama chose the youngest shoots at the center of the plant that were still furled as they were the most tender. Mission accomplished, I walked behind her in the gully back to the house, feeling the river stones under my feet, the cool water reaching up to my ankles and flowing between my toes. I may have been 3 or 4 years old, and Mrs. Ida Butler, my mama, was the most important person in the world to me. I imprinted on her like a duckling on its mother. And that's page 12 of Audrey's book. And that resonated with me too. This is blurry, but these are my grandparents, and this is while I was still living in Sri Lanka. And she was the center of my world as well. And I love that this passage makes those connections between her childhood, her family, the relationships between family members, and her experience of nature, which she describes really vividly. I'm going to read one quote from each of them. This quote from Audrey, for me, really resonates because it reminds me of my own childhood in the tropics. I'm going to read one from Amy. So in her book, Amy weaves together facts about wondrous animals and plants with memories of her own childhood. She writes of how fireflies remind her of her mother's scent of oil of Olay and spearmint gum, of how touch-me-not plants have a superpower she would use to ensure consent, how comb jellies remind her of the brilliantly colored glass bangles her grandmother gave her when she was supposedly too young to have them. But I'm going to read one passage where she connects not to her childhood, but to her life as a parent. It's about ribbon eels. Ribbon eels are mainly content to stay in the same reef hole or coral heap for years, poking their heads out with their mouths ecstatically open as if to say, wow, look at this spectacular place I call home. Really, it's just drawing water over its gills to help it breathe, though. And that's how it spends most of its days, most of its brilliant flat body tucked away. In conditions like these, ribbon eels thrive and live up to 20 years. But the biggest threat to ribbon eels is the home aquarium trade because they don't survive long in captivity. Inside a tank, they soon stop eating, a silent protest against the ugly hands that lifted their elegant bodies up and into a bag or bucket. Most don't even last a year. And then she writes about parenting. As a baby, my youngest son was famous among our friends and neighbors for constantly opening his wee mouth in shock and surprise and wonder. He never seemed to be tired. If I turned off a lamp and whispered that it was time to sleep and slowly let my eyes adjust to the darkness, I would see him still staring at me with eyes as big as malted milk balls in our moonlit room. His pouty mouth parted in a perpetual state of delight, his wispy eyebrows and fine spread of owl feather hair. The only time he didn't wear that expression of wonderment was when he blessedly fell asleep, so rare in those early years. But oh, when that finally did happen, how he'd sleep so hard against my chest. We'd both wake in a light sweat, although we were in the middle of a particularly harsh Western New York winter. And that is how we passed our quiet days at home together during the first cold season of his life, enveloped under blankets while a foot or two of snow fell overnight. Mouths wide open in astonishment at things I'd easily pass over any other time during the busy academic year. I was able to stay home the semester my eldest was born. I wasn't able to stay home the semester my eldest was born, so I cherished these slow days with my littlest guy, even though that rascal barely slept more than 3 hours at a time for his entire first 2 years. Maybe the only thing I could do in those blurry months was marvel, wonder. And that's Amy Nezuko Matato in World of Wonders. And that really resonated with me as well, because it made me think about my own first year as a mother, and the wonder of it, the exhaustion of it, and the ability as a parent over time to see the world through her eyes, through my daughter's eyes. I think that's one of the greatest joys of being a parent, of being a grandparent, of being a caregiver, or being a teacher, is that ability to see through the eyes of others. I'll shift now again to Drew's book. And just one passage from him for now. And he talks about incorporating caring into his professional work. More and more, I find myself taking the hard data and wrapping it in genuine caring. Aldo Leopold's admonitions to be one of those who cannot live without wild things, to keep all the parts, listen to the mountain, and preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community, fly round and round inside me like swifts swirling before the roost. The words are flocks of inspiration that I want to migrate from my mouth into the heads and hearts of others. I shake hands less now and give hugs more. I exchange more heartbeats than business cards. And that really speaks to me and what I'm trying to do with Mela in thinking more about storytelling, thinking more about the connections and relationships between people, and thinking about supporting the people who do this work around the environment, around education, around civic engagement and justice as well. So those are some bits and threads of inspiration for you all. I want to pause to think about what resonates with you, questions that you might have. And I haven't been monitoring the chat, but any thoughts you're having, questions, reflections, and after that, we'll pause. I hope you did bring some notebooks, because I'd love to have us write together. Before I do that, I wanted to see if you all had any questions, any comments.
Namal, we don't have questions yet, but I think a lot of people are really enjoying the reading, like myself, even though I've read all the books. They're amazing, including just listening to Drew's and Amy's work again and Audrey's. So thank you for that. Just the three of them have such a way with words, and your reading was so nice. And Anne, I don't know if there's something I missed, if you have, but then keep going. We love it.
People are writing a little bit now. Here's a question. How do you consider this for audiences less familiar or less confident as writers? And that's from Siobhan Stars. Yeah, that's sometimes hearing these sorts of words can be intimidating, because you think, oh, this is so eloquent, so well thought out. I think if you're less confident as a writer, my biggest piece of advice is just to get started. Just get a notebook and start writing whatever you think of. Write after you go on a hike, write after you teach, write when you read an article or read a passage in a book. And don't think about writing huge long essays. Just think about writing a paragraph, a short reflection. And then over time, those reflections might get longer. Don't write thinking you need to produce something polished. Just get it out there and then go back to it. Go back to it in a day or a year. I still have this whole document of dissertation memos, and I go back to it because I find ideas there that I never really fully thought through. What else? Yeah, I liked a lot of these words and the specific things that they say about different aspects of life. Feel free to keep sharing thoughts, questions, and comments in the chat, but let's, yeah, this is a good time to stop. It is 3:30, so let's take 15 minutes, absorb some of this, because I know I went kind of fast. Get a journal, get a piece of paper. Yeah, I write in the margins a lot. I'll show you. And then I go back, and if I can manage to read my writing, it helps me extend ideas. I started writing in pencil now, so I don't demolish my books. But before that, I used to write in pen. You can grab a notebook. I'll write too. I have my notebook. We'll take 15 minutes. We'll write about whatever comes up. And it doesn't necessarily have to directly reflect the points that I made, but think about your own lives, your connection to the environment, your professional work, and see what comes up. And we'll just sort of free write for 15 minutes and then come back together to talk about what we've written. Does that work? Okay, I'm gonna turn my video. Well, I'll keep sharing. Let's write together. We'll come back together at 2:47. Okay, let's come back together. Oh, I guess we have another minute or so. Wrap up what you're doing, and we'll come back together to share what we've written, to just talk a little bit about writing and reflection. Okay, so how did that go? How was the experience of doing a little bit of writing on paper in community with other people who are thinking about the same sorts of things? Any thoughts and comments? Just type them in the chat, or you can unmute, you can raise your hands and talk directly. I'd love to hear, and if you'd like to share any of what you've written, that would be great too. I'd love to hear it. How do I see you all? And maybe you could unmute people as they come up, because I don't think I can see everyone. I'm so glad to hear that it was restorative or freeing. I definitely understand it being scattered. When I first put thoughts out into the world, sometimes they're just little fragments of things, and later on I can weave them together. For me, having a little, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Deborah is raising her hand. I'm going to unmute her so that she can share.
Great. Hi, Deborah.
Unmute. Okay, there I am.
There you are.
Okay, so here's some thoughts that I wrote. My relationship with nature since childhood is of wandering the fields where the cows would roam, and then later as an adult, a collector of images for which I submitted into photo competition. A witness to Mother Earth, watercolors, abstracts, and reflections on liquid gold, a seeker of knowledge to the ecological balance of places under threat. My relationship with nature is of passion and purpose. It's speaking up for God's creatures. Sadly, I sometimes wonder why my journey is often a one-man show. That's what I wrote.
Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, there's loneliness in this work often, and sometimes reading about how others also feel isolated in doing this type of work or in exploring nature can be a way to bring us together and realize that we're not really alone. That's one of the reasons that I also love seeing the perspectives of Drew and Amy and Audrey. It's wonderful to see more of the experiences of people of color in the environmental field and in exploring nature. And it's just also, I think, thinking about loneliness or isolation, especially during a pandemic, writing can be a way that supports our mental health, that supports our well-being in just in the same way that getting out into nature, going hiking, sitting outside, having a picnic, reading outside can be a way to support your mental health and your sense of well-being. Even when I feel horrible, sometimes when I write or when I get out and take a walk and look at the trees or look at the flowers, I feel so much better.
But my loneliness stems from my going before the town hall politicians, and I often will ask for people to, support me, show up or whatever. And it's often, like I said, a one-man show.
Yeah, that's another type of isolation, whether it's political or because you are the only one in your field or who thinks or feels the same way or feels a certain way about the environment. in your community. And that might also be a reason why writing together can be really helpful. Thank you, Deborah. I'm going to look at some of these other things in the chat, and if someone else wants to share out loud, that would be great too. Experiences with Celeste Royer writes about experiences with her abuela. Floating. Maggie Allen wrote about floating on top of water, a feeling of rootlessness. But it seems like a positive sort of rootlessness.
Namal, we have one more. Sarah is raising her hand.
Please. I'm enjoying reading all the things that people have written as well. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Sarah, go ahead.
Hello,
Hi,
I
Sarah.
hope you can hear me.
I can.
So I started writing about foraging, which is something I got into during the pandemic, and then it brought me back to my grandmother. So I'll read a little bit of that. I said, I'm looking, I'm looking for persimmons to make jam, or so I tell everyone else. Really, I want to see the bright orange orbs on naked branches, feel the gooey pulp as I press them into my hands. I'm told my grandmother loved them, though I never got to ask her why before she passed. They're the white whale of my novice foraging, yet one of the only foods available for harvest in December. The jam would be delicious, but what I crave is the memory, the chance to reminisce on the secret spot where the persimmon tree is hidden, to remember the vibrant fruit among the subdued winter hues. I wonder if she liked this too. But time is running out before they, too, perish without my getting a chance to know them or learn them.
That's beautiful.
That's it.
Sarah, I love that. It also makes me think of some of what Audrey was writing about, Audrey Peterman, in her passage about her grandmother, the connection between nature and family and food, and how you can have memories wrapped up in each of those things, how eating a certain food can evoke certain memories. That's really lovely. Thank you. Oh, she said she can't hear anymore. Sorry. So I think this is all so beautiful, and thank you everyone for sharing. I have one more quote that I wanted to read from as we were writing. It came to me that I'd like to share this quote. It's from this same book, The Stories Lives Tell, and it's in a chapter called Telling Our Own Stories, the Reading and Writing of Journals or Diaries by Joanne Cooper. And she writes, the answer may not be one self, but many past selves, the people we used to be. These past selves have evolved to form a present collective self. This present self can be discerned through a journey back in time, a journey that threads the past selves like beads on a string, forming a necklace of existence, a present complex whole. Keeping a notebook is one way to keep in touch with our past and present selves. A notebook, a diary, or a journal is a form of narrative as well as a form of research, a way to tell our own story, a way to learn who we have been, who we are, and who we are becoming. We become teachers and researchers in our own lives, empowering ourselves in the process. And I'd love for us to think and talk further, maybe during the next workshop, about how these connections are made and how writing and about your own life and experiences can help you with teaching or with collaboratively working with other people. I'm gonna close the chat for a second. These are a couple of photos that have stuck with me from my dissertation research, where I was able to observe students experiencing nature, being able to look for birds with binoculars, here they're listening, but then they're going to go and collect seeds to plant as part of a Rice Rangers program, or maybe, sorry, not the Rice Rangers program. They were going to plant seeds as part of a meadow restoration program. These sorts of connections between people and nature are so wonderful to observe and also really useful to write about. I wanted to, since we're almost at 4, there is time for more questions. And there were a couple of questions from the chat that I wanted, and comments that I wanted to respond to. But here's one more quote from Drew, just in case people have to leave right at 4. I think about land, but more and more, I also think about how other Black and brown folks think about land. I wonder how our lives would change for the better if the ties to place weren't broken by bad memories, misinformation, and ignorance. I think about school children playing in safe, clean, green spaces where the water and air flow clear and the bird song sounds sweet. More and more, I think of land not just in the remote, desolate wilderness, but in inner city parks and suburban backyards and community gardens. I think of land and all it brings in my life. I think of land and hope that others are thinking about it too. And that's on page 183 of his book. And that's all I have.
Yeah. Namal, that is so wonderful. Thank you so much for this session. I think we're going to have, for the next ones that come up, many more people joining as word of mouth travels, because just reading all the comments about how wonderful it was for people to have a little bit of time to write and think about nature and all the issues that you brought up and how the connections are made with nature. So thank you so much. You have such a wonderful style about you, and we're really excited that you'll be coming back again. If anyone does have questions, please continue to send them to us, and we can all talk about that and also reflect on those for the next session. And I'm going to turn it over to Anne, who's going to close us out, but a big virtual thank you, Namal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Namal. In case folks really enjoy this, you can see so much more. And there is going to be a part 2 coming in early 2021. Namal, thank you so much. This felt like a meditation for the past hour. It was so nice to just sit and reflect for a bit.
I'm so glad. And yeah, I would love to have your comments and questions and thoughts in shaping what the next one will be. There were a couple of comments that I picked up on the chat. Jose Santiago had asked a question about designing programs for nature centers. And I think that might be great I might be able to email you so that we can just chat about that, or just email back and forth about it, because it's a bigger question. And Carlos Velasquez had commented that as a Native American, connection to nature starts with naming. And I think naming is so powerful. It brings beings other than humans in and creates a relationship with those beings. And naming of people is really important as well, rather than just thinking about people as groups, thinking about them as individuals. In work on diversity, equity, and inclusion, that's such a powerful part of the work, is making sure that we recognize people by their names and with their names. And then with biodiversity, it helps to name and make those connections between us, rather than thinking of ourselves as separate from nature.
Nice. So as everybody, if you join our webinars before, you know that everybody will get the notes from the chat, a copy of Namal's slides, and a copy of the recording. It'll get sent to your email address that you use to register for today's webinar. You can also find everything on the same EE Pro page where you found the original registration link. We're going to open up a conversation on that same page there too. So if other questions come up for you over the next few days, and like Namal said, if you have suggestions for how to frame part 2, please jot your ideas there, and Namal will have all of those in one place. That's
And
on.
could we put my last slide back on there, or can I do it? I don't have my email address on there, but I do have my other information, and I'll type my email address into the chat.
Can you go ahead and
Yep.
I'll put that up?
Now I can. I went too far and I did it. Get back to it.
You're going to have so many people emailing you, Namal.
Can you see my screen?
No, not yet. But we can send it when we send the
Yeah,
email, the
I think that would be
recording.
fine.
I'll include that if you don't mind.
Thank you
I'll
so
know
much, everyone.
reaching out to you. Okay, and so just want to end with one final announcement. If you do enjoy this webinar series, I invite you all to check out our page on EE Pro. Judy mentioned we did nearly 25 webinars this year, so there's lots more on there. You can check out additional recordings and notes from all the webinars we did this year. And we've got one last one coming up a week from today, December 17th, with Andy Goodman. There's so much that we've learned over this past year of working remotely, and you're going to be hearing from nearly 4,000 folks from nonprofits, universities, government agencies that provided input for what works for working in a virtual format. And Andy's going to be sharing all of those results with us next week, and you can sign up for that webinar now. And that is all, folks. Thank you again, Namal, for spending the hour with us. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Rachel. And thanks all of you for being here, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you,
Thank
Judy.
you, Anne. Thanks,
Thanks, Rachel.
Rachel. Great to see everybody. Take care.
Bye.